CM Punk's AEW return on the premiere episode of AEW Collision is reportedly to be billed as AEW Collision The Second Coming. Also, would AEW Collision even be happening without CM Punk's involvement? Details on that. Plus, Matt Jackson has been cleared to compete by All Elite Wrestling, and details as to actually when one half of the Young Bucks was actually cleared by All Elite Wrestling. Will Bret Hart be at All In London later on this year after one of his most famous matches, certainly in history, taking place at Wembley Stadium back in 1992. Chris Jericho filed some interesting trademarks, an update on Vicky Guerrero after the recent family controversy surrounding her, an update on how long Trinity is expected to be sticking around with Impact Wrestling, and Saraya opens up on how much Wembley Stadium means to her ahead of AEW All In London. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about former two-time AEW World Champion CM Punk, and a big update has emerged on the AEW Collision brand, with the special name for the debut episode set to feature CM Punk's return now being revealed. With AEW reportedly set to launch the Collision TV show next month, it has been reported that Punk will return to be the focal point of the Collision brand, with the Elite set to remain on AEW Dynamite on TBS. Per Dave Meltzer in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, CM Punk will return on the debut episode of the show, slated for June 17. Noting that this show will be billed as AEW Collision The Second Coming, Meltzer writes, quote, "A number of announcements will take place on May 17 regarding the future of AEW. WBD will have its upfronts for advertisers that day at the Hulu Theater adjacent to Madison Square Garden, which is expected to include the announcement of the new Collision show on Saturday night. With that show will come the new deal with Warner Bros. Discovery, the announcement of the June 17 debut date, believed to be at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, and the return of CM Punk on a show called The Second Coming. Tony Khan already mentioned a big announcement and said it would be made next week on TNT, meaning that the announcement, beside the upfronts, will be on TNT prior to Dynamite that night on TBS. Fightful Select Sean Ross Sapp recently reported that while there were talks of a Punk versus Chris Jericho feud upon Punk's return, Punk himself has actually pitched former Ring of Honor rival Samoa Joe as his first opponent. Fightful has also reported that the returns of Miro and Thunder Rosa on Dynamite were directly linked to the debut of AEW Collision. Tony Khan touted this past Wednesday's edition of Dynamite as a major show, previously referring to it as a pay-per-view on TBS. Now, when it comes to would Collision have happened without CM Punk, this has been a big kind of confusion point with a lot of people, isn't it? The announcement of Collision is reportedly set for next week's, as I mentioned, Warner Bros. Discovery upfronts, including an extended deal between AEW and WBD. With all the attention on Collision revolving around Punk being there, Dave Meltzer has addressed the question of a Punk-less Saturday night show. In the current issue of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Meltzer states, quotes, "Someone very familiar with the negotiations of the Collision deal has said that the show would have happened with or without Punk, but absolutely WBD wanted Punk. It was recently reported, as I mentioned, that the upcoming Collision show in prime time on WBD is part of a new cash infusion for AEW, as well as an extension of the partnership between the two sides. As I mentioned, this show is tentatively going to be titled as The Second Coming, I guess meaning the second coming of CM Punk in All Elite Wrestling." So what are your thoughts on AEW Collision The Second Coming? What are your thoughts on the announcement being made? And what are your thoughts that the show would have happened with or without CM Punk? But of course, WBD, they wanted CM Punk to be involved. Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Matt Jackson, he's part of the feud between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite on AEW Dynamite in recent weeks. In March of 2023, it was revealed that Matt Jackson had suffered a partially torn bicep and would be out of action for a while. This would be followed up with a prediction of a 6 to 8 week period of recovery for the member of the Elite, suggesting a return in time for Double or Nothing on May 28, 2023. In mid-April, Jackson would provide an update on his recovery, saying he's feeling like he's ready to wrestle. Dave Meltzer has now provided an update on Jackson's medical condition in the current Wrestling Observer newsletter, writing, quotes, "Matt Jackson's recovery from a partially torn biceps has obviously gone quicker than expected with all the stuff he's done on television. He was actually cleared this week, a few weeks ahead of schedule, and was bumping and running the ropes in the ring before the May 10 show, and has done resistance training for a few weeks. Matt and Nick Jackson were recently seen after the portrayal of Kenny Omega by Don Callis, with the Elite member commenting on what happened after the show. So Matt Jackson, he's back and he's ready to go. Now, when it comes to one of the biggest rivals of the Elite, the Blackpool Combat Club, and Jon Moxley, Moxley has opened up about people that maybe don't like the Elite, specifically Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Jon Moxley does not mince words in a recent chat with Sports Illustrated, where after his massive steel cage match with Kenny Omega on AEW Dynamite, he had plenty more to say. Speaking to Sports Illustrated, Moxley echoed past sentiment about the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega that he had shared on his wife Renee Paquette's podcast. Moxley said, quote, "This rivalry between us is the cutting edge of the business. You might be more into something else, but look who is involved here. Kenny Omega may be the greatest wrestler that ever lived. Bryan Danielson may be the greatest wrestler that ever lived. Claudio Castagnoli may be the absolute alien pretending to be a human Superman effing freak wrestler to ever live. The Young Bucks may be the greatest tag team of all time. Even if you think effing suck, you still have to have all of these greats. A lot of people out there hate on the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. We're obviously attacking them and have our issues with them, but we are not old ass effing bitter dudes with podcasts talking about how the business used to be. We are not that. A lot of people hate Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and that's because they hate themselves. It's sad. There are plenty of people who hate me. I don't give an F. I don't care what challenges you put in front of me or what shit befalls me. I'm very pissed off and I will shove it up everyone's flying ass. After last year, I have that attitude. Kenny and the Young Bucks have that attitude. It's us against the universe. That attitude is AEW at its core. Going a step further, Moxley reminded fans that this combination has quite literally proven themselves over and over again, but that folks are still welcome to doubt, saying, quote, "Keep betting against Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and see what happens. Historically, that's not a smart play. Keep betting against me or Bryan Danielson or Claudio. I've eaten so much effing shit in this business, notwithstanding. I almost died a couple of times. I've been dragged through the mud as I can in the business. I'm bulletproof. I don't give an F." That's the message of the day. Doubt any of the six of us and see how that works out. So Moxley, he doesn't care, basically saying doubt all of us at your peril. Bret Hart. So many people want to see Bret Hart at Wembley Stadium this year. Of course, he's got huge history with that stadium and with, obviously, the match he had against the British Bulldog there at SummerSlam in the early 90s. Of course, AEW All In takes place at Wembley Stadium in London, England on August 27, and there's no doubt Tony Khan has high hopes for the event. With recent reporting that Will Ospreay is already locked in for the show, other names that have been thrown around include CM Punk, Goldberg, and Mercedes Moné. With the show taking place on UK soil, Dave Meltzer has noted that British fans may want to see an iconic name in attendance, with Harry Smith Jr.'s name being one suggested. Harry Smith Jr. is the son of Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, who defeated Bret Hart for the WWE Intercontinental Championship in the main event of SummerSlam in 1992, which also took place at Wembley Stadium. Having the son of a legend in the ring, or perhaps Bret Hart himself, would be quite a moment for Tony Khan, but it isn't that straightforward. According to Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, any such plans for Hart would be difficult to pull off, writing, quote, "Obviously, there has been a lot of UK sentiment towards Tony Khan to bring in Smith Jr. since he's already there, and Bret Hart for an appearance on this show. I don't believe Hart can legally appear due to his WWE deal, as that's the reason Hart has never appeared on an episode of Impact." In May 2022, details of Hart's WWE deal emerged, with Meltzer saying that WWE Hall of Famer said that his only deal with WWE is a merchandising deal and not any other deal. So there's been a lot of confusion as to what Bret Hart can do outside of WWE. Of course, at one point there were rumors and interest reportedly from AEW about bringing Hart in as a possible manager or character regarding FTR on AEW TV, and then the report was that WWE basically locked down Bret Hart to a deal that was a massive deal to try and keep him off of AEW TV. But he has appeared at indie shows outside of WWE, so there's still a lot of confusion as to what his deal actually consists of. The last time we actually saw Bret Hart on WWE TV, ironically enough, was at the UK show last year, Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, Wales, at the Principality Stadium. Chris Jericho has filed 2 trademarks. Jericho's trademarks often get people talking about potential new match stipulations or nicknames for use in AEW, as many we've seen in the past have come to light. This time, however, that doesn't seem like the new trademarks are for use in Jericho's wrestling career, but rather his music career. On May 8, Jericho, under his real name Chris Irvin, filed trademarks for both FozFest and FozzyFest. Both trademarks are intended to cover the categories of bandanas, hats, shirts, socks, shirts, and short sleeve shirts, sweatshirts, hooded sweatshirts. Jericho's band Fozzy has been on tour this month, hence him not appearing live on AEW TV, instead just in pre-taped backstage segments. However, it won't be long until he's back, as he's set for an upcoming Falls Count Anywhere match against AEW's newest signing, Roderick Strong. That's set to take place next week on AEW Dynamite on TBS. Now, a bit of an update when it comes to Vicky Guerrero, because there's been so much controversy surrounding her recently. There's a new update on former WWE and AEW named Vicky Guerrero, who's been in the news recently after allegations from her daughter, Sherilyn. Sherilyn Guerrero had recently alleged that her stepfather, Chris Benson, Vicky's husband, had assaulted Sherilyn on a cruise in 2020, and that Vicky had chosen Chris over her and abandoned her. On April 12, Vicky posted a statement on Instagram that was written on behalf of herself and Chris Benson, vehemently denying the allegations. While if you go back to Vicky's Instagram, you won't see that statement anymore, nor will you see anything that had previously been posted. The account had all of its posts deleted from it and now has been completely rebranded as a page for Travel by Vicky. Quote, "Welcome to Travel by Vicky. I love traveling and look forward to creating a detailed itinerary for either business or personal trips. There are currently only 3 posts up, one being a poster for an all-inclusive resort in Punta Cana saying book now, save 60%, one being a certificate to show that Vicky completed the Evolution Travel Academy's Travel 101 course, and one being the Travel by Vicky logo. Soon after the allegations were made by Sherilyn, Vicky was removed from AEW's official roster page on its website. Her contract with the promotion was due to expire in July anyway, and she'd already said that she wasn't going to be re-signing. The April 12 statement that was posted in response to the allegation was as follows, quote, "Chris and Vicky Benson vehemently deny Sherilyn Guerrero's recent allegation of assault and abandonment. Miss Guerrero's unsubstantiated accusation have caused the Bensons to suffer public ridicule, scorn, derision, and humiliation. Chris and Vicky fully appreciate the seriousness of the allegations of this nature and the need for public support of assault survivors. However, they ask that you withhold final judgment on this matter until they have an opportunity to bring Miss Guerrero and her claims into a court of law where judgment is based on facts and merit." So, of course, if we get any more updates on that, we'll let you know. Now, let's talk about Trinity Fatu, just Trinity in Impact Wrestling. And certainly, it looks like she's going to be sticking around for a while. It's not hard to be overcome by the excitement of Trinity being back in professional wrestling. According to a report from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, there are at least a few more Trinity Thursdays left to go for Impact Wrestling. The report notes that, according to their sources, Trinity is currently scheduled for commitments with Impact Wrestling into the summer. So, a summer of Trinity. Great, got it. While Trinity may have just arrived in Impact Wrestling, she has already made a big splash. In her first segment, which featured Impact last week, Trinity immediately squared up against Impact Wrestling Knockouts World Champion Deonna Purrazzo. However, their back and forth was interrupted by Jordynne Grace, who reminded the duo that she had the next title opportunity. On last night's edition of Impact, it was Trinity who ran out to make the save after Grace was being victimized by the Coven in a post-match beatdown. That was until, of course, Trinity's music hit, and she entered the ring not only with acrobatics but force, taking out the witchy duo and standing tall in the end. So Trinity scheduled for several more Impact Wrestling appearances. Finally, Saraya has opened up on what competing at Wembley Stadium means to her ahead of AEW All In. With over 60,000 tickets sold for the event already, AEW All In at Wembley Stadium is poised to be one of the biggest non-WWE wrestling shows of all time. Speaking with RJ City on Twitter Spaces, the UK's own Saraya was asked if Wembley Stadium meant something to her when she was a kid, and if it's fair to say it's the Madison Square Garden for her. She answered, quote, "Yeah, I mean, it's the biggest stadium in the UK. It's huge. It's our MSG. It's our Tokyo Dome. You know, it's our stadium. So to be part of that is awesome. And it's my countrymen too. So I'm going to be extremely loved up there, just so you know. Hopefully Jamie Hayter doesn't step on that because she's also from England. And I have to, take her out before that." Saraya, along with Toni Storm and Ruby Soho of The Outcasts, are scheduled to face AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, and Hikaru Shida in a 6-woman tag team match on the May 17 episode of AEW Dynamite. So Saraya certainly will be involved a lot at that show. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.